on so I can tell. Call the February Amherst County School Board meeting to order. Dr. Wells, can I turn it over to you for just a moment?
Yes, sir. Mr. Chair, ladies and gentlemen of the board, as you may know, roughly about a week ago, we were notified they had recovered the body of Myson Sylvester in the Rockfish River. I do want to take a moment to, as we do our moment of silence, I'd ask that we all keep him and his family and friends in our thoughts and prayers, along with the families, friends, and staff at the schools, but also of the other two students as well, because this was the third student in that incident at the Rockfish River. So let's please keep everyone in our thoughts and prayers, but especially those of Myson, since his body was just recovered.
Thank you, sir. So if we could stand for a moment of silence and the Pledge of Allegiance, please. Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. So, board, I need an approval for the agenda.
So moved.
Have a first, can I get a second, please?
Second.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? None. Okay. We have an approved agenda, Dr. Wells.
All right, I'm getting some feedback, so I'm going to try to do this. We may have to scoot forward a little bit. We'll find out how this works.
Gotcha.
So if the feedback gets bad, we might have to readjust. So February is a month of recognition. So we have several recognitions we want to talk about. First, for this first list is School Board Appreciation Month. So tonight we do recognize our school board. February is School Board Appreciation Month, and we thank you for all you've done for the students and staff of Amherst County Public Schools. At your place, there are gifts from the schools, from our students and our staff, and we just want to recognize you for your service and thank you for your service. And the little meals and snacks tonight were in recognition of that. We also have a short video that we Naomi Giles helped put together, and so I would like to take a moment to watch the video regarding School Board Appreciation Month.
Good evening and welcome. Is there a motion to approve our agenda? So moved. All in favor? All in favor? Aye. Our agenda has been approved. It will consist of major. We need to discuss Amherst County School Board, counties, how much we appreciate them. Thoughts?
Our school board has shown our appreciation. Why don't we can invite our voters and members of our community to come and words about how our school at Amherst County.
Unfortunately, it's too busy reading policies, legislation, legislation, meetings for a party. Why don't we have creative basket for each member?
I think it's nice, but I think staff should be in staff. Much of their profession, work environment, curriculum, facility, salary, depend on our school board. Perhaps write thank you notes. They could tell everyone what they tend to spend on. Hire this on. Xbox is pretty sexy.
We're the main reason our school board members work so hard. To them, it's all about the students of AAC. And if we really want to show our appreciation, we should do it in a way that includes the many people they've influenced, but especially the next generation, who's so bright.
Idea. Let's put together a video of our entire team at Amherst and showcase some of the important work we've done here. Great idea. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Amherst County School Board. Amherst County School. Thank you.
Hello, Amherst County School Board. Amherst County. Listen, and my son Lee, John Quentin Lee, just want to give a huge shout out and appreciate all the hard work that you do to help us, all of our public, all of the public here at county and scenes in front behind the scenes, in front of the scenes. We love you so much. If we don't tell you that, we really appreciate you. Thank you for all you. We love you. Keep up the good work.
What can you do? Your time, your help, your generosity. You don't even have to be present to be a part, to be supporting, cheering, inspiring, listening, or building us up. We know what you do from the heart. Just look closely rather you stop and call. Send along a special jewel. See how what you do helps to a wonderful place.
Thank you, School Board, for us. Thank you, School Board, for all you do for the students and staff in Amherst County. You.
Appreciate all the hard work you do. Keep it up.
Just want to thank the school board for taking every child every day, not letting timbers get lost in the shuffle despite us in the numbers. Thank you.
Thank you for your service.
The best teacher us learn.
Go Team Amherst! Panther Pride! Go Team Amherst! Panther Pride!
All right, thank you all so much for what you do here at the Central Office of Amherst County Public Schools. We thank you for all you do. We thank you for the hard work. We thank you for the dedication. We thank you for everything, from me to you. Thank you.
Thank you for keeping our school system straight throughout all the years.
Thank you for giving us random days off.
I love to sleep that y'all give us. Thank you for all you do for Go Team Amherst.
Thank you, School Board, for all you do to support our students and staff.
Happy School Month. School Board members, we know that your job is a difficult one, but we know that you always have our best interest and our students' best interest in mind. So thank you for all that you do.
Hi, I'd just like to take a moment, of School Board Appreciation Month, to approve all that you do. Our students and staff at Amherst County Public Schools, we know it's not an easy job, but we do appreciate what you do. Thank you.
Thank you, School Board, for everything.
Hello, February is School Board Appreciation Month. On behalf of Amherst County Public Schools, I want to thank our school board for showing up for ACPS. Their dedication, students, families, staff, and community is greatly appreciated and does not go unnoticed. Thanks again for all you do for ACPS.
Thank you for your time and your dedication to all the students of Amherst County Public Schools. Go Team Amherst! Then Amherst always go! Thank you!
So I believe at your place you also should have a card for some strawberries, and I think they're going to be in March 7th. So just make sure you keep that card. You have to redeem it for your strawberries. Also at your place you do have a Valentine's card and some candy that was donated from a community member. So they didn't want to be named, so they're at your place as well. February. So again, thank you, School Board, for all you do for us. We appreciate it. Again, so February is also Black History Month. So schools across the division have been conducting events and activities in recognition of Black History Month. So as a school system, we want to thank members of our community for all they've done and recognize all members of our society and our community for their contributions to Amherst County Public Schools. National School Counseling Week was this week as well. And so we thank our school counselors for all they've done for us and all they continue to do for our students. You know, when things like the incident happened with our students in Rockfish River and the deaths of those students, you know, that's one side of what the counselors are here for. but there's so many other little things they do on a daily basis with our students. So I just want to thank them for all they do for our students and our staff and their families. So again, appreciation to our school counselors. Next week is Virginia Kindness Week. Kindness Week is to recognize that simple day-to-day acts of kindness enable our schools, communities, and state to be a kinder, safer, healthier, and more inclusive place to live, work, learn, and play. So next week we'll be doing things throughout our division regarding School Kindness Week, and so we do recognize that. Also next week is School Board Clerk Week. So I want to thank Ms. McNerney in advance for all she does, for getting things set up and all the help she gives me and all the support she gives the school board. And then finally, National CTE Month is this month. So we want to thank and recognize our CTE teachers for all they do in our CTE departments. And I believe Mr. Maddox is going to have a couple words to say regarding our CTE department.
Yeah, thank you, Dr. Wells. To the board members, February is CTE month, and the theme for this year is Celebrate Today, Own Tomorrow. And that provides our schools an opportunity to showcase success stories of excellence and communicate the crucial role that CTE plays in preparing a highly skilled workforce for our economy. I just want to say our community is blessed with having some of the best CTE instructors in the state, and would like to thank all the instructors for everything they do for our students and Amherst County Public Schools. I also want to thank you as a school board for all your support for our programs. It is greatly appreciated. And also I'd like to thank all of our local businesses and community for their support. Students, giving them opportunities to do work-based learning, participate in career fairs, and also allowing our students to take tours in their business, in their buildings and stuff. So some of the activities that are happening during the month, our welding 3 students are building a firewood bundler, which is a really neat thing for our FFA. Our JAG students are planning a field trip to Moore's Electric, as well as the Virginia Technical Institute. Our cybersecurity students have a competition at the University of Lynchburg on international relations, terrorism, and security. Our marketing students are also creating social media posts after interviewing some of our CTE instructors. Agriculture, Amherst Middle School, they're going to livestock and horse judging competitions at Virginia Tech. And they're also preparing for the spring fling, where they'll have plants and things of that nature to sell during that time. So it's a lot of things going on in our buildings. I know it's a lot of career exploration activities happening in the elementary schools. So if you get a chance, get out and talk to our teachers and our instructors. They'd love to see you this month.
Thank you, sir.
So now we are moving on to 3.0 for public comment. I have a list of names of people who've signed up ahead of time. So when I call your name, please come forward, state your, do they have to state address any longer, or is it just the vote region?
Yeah, just the Reed District.
Just Reed, okay. So first off is Kathleen Ayal.
Good evening. I'm Kathleen Ayal, and I'm the department chair at the high school for the English department and an AEA rep at the high school, and I am a member of District 2. I'd like to just remind everybody that I know that we all want to have a quality, challenging, safe education for all of our students, and I just hope all of us will remember that everything we do should be in the service of that goal. Recently, I sent a letter to school board members addressing issues about the sexually explicit opt-in policy and also about recent challenges to library materials. I did receive a few polite thank yous for that letter, but that is really all I heard. I want to just address the opt-in policy again and urge school board to please reconsider and change that to an opt-out policy. The opt-out policy really addresses all of our needs for parents, students, and teachers, and is really much more easy to handle and in many ways is more inclusive than the opt-in policy. A few problems with the opt-in policy: it's very difficult to collect forms from all of the students who might need to return them. In addition, the definition of sexually explicit as defined by the Virginia Code still has ambiguities in it, and this could cause contention and confusion between parents and teachers. That would be unfortunate. And if we are not getting the forms back, we have to develop alternative resources and prepare dual lessons, which could be quite burdensome and potentially expensive for teachers to handle. Those are just a few of the considerations. So I urge school board to please revisit this and change it back, well, change it to an opt-out policy. I know Lynchburg City Schools has just done this. Secondly, I would like to just talk about the issue of indoctrination and about challenges to our library books. Nationally, there's still a great deal of talk about indoctrination. It's in our state, it's in our county, too, as witnessed at a recent meeting that I attended. The word indoctrination is really being used loosely and incorrectly. I'd just like to remind people, indoctrination is the process of teaching a person or group to accept a set of beliefs uncritically. Another definition, it's the process of repeating an idea or belief to someone until they accept it without criticism, or to teach someone to fully accept the ideas, opinions, and beliefs of a particular group and not to consider other ideas or opinions. This is not happening in our schools. Having a book available for checkout in a school library is not indoctrination, just as it is not in any library. That is not indoctrination. Libraries are repositories of human culture, learning, and ideas, and we will not agree with everything we find in a library. For example, having a book in our library that might address the issue of critical race theory is not indoctrination. Yet this was cited as such in a recent meeting that I witnessed. Having an award-winning novel in our library that has an intentionally upsetting scene of molestation is not indoctrination in pornography, and yet it was presented as such in the same meeting that I attended. I'm not convinced that the recent scrutiny of some of the texts in our library is really representative of the will of our county, the will and the concern of our county. Those of us who want our students to have access to a wide variety of sources and to have the freedom to check out books of their choosing, I would just encourage you to please speak up and make your wishes known to the county. Again, have respect for our librarians. They have a system to follow.
Excuse me, your 3 minutes is up.
Okay. Anyway, respect our libraries and the policies we have in place. Thank you.
Next, we have Kate McFadder.
Good evening. My name is Kate McFadder, and I think I'm District 3. I live at 973 Lewis Keith Road. I have 2 children that have been enrolled in ACPS. One graduated last year and is currently a freshman in college, and the other is a junior enrolled at the Governor's School and the high school. I am greatly concerned with what appears to be an attack on literature in our schools. Historically, teachers have chosen instructional reading material based on best practices and guidelines from state-mandated SOLs. The new opt-in policy in the classroom is of particular concern to me. Again, historically, teachers have been able to choose novels for their classrooms with an opt-out policy. If parents were not comfortable with the literature choice, they could opt their student out of reading that novel, and they would then be assigned an alternative choice. Now, all students must opt in, meaning a permission slip must go home with each novel. If the permission slip doesn't get returned, and if you have teenagers, you know this is the case more often than not, you may have a class reading many different novels, which greatly detracts from classroom discussion and continuity. It also creates an enormous workload for teachers, potentially having to create and implement multiple lesson plans for each class, and adds even more administrative duties to their jobs. Both of my girls have received high-quality instruction in literature and writing while enrolled in ACPS. They have loved many of the novels chosen for their classes. I have read many of those same books and count them among my favorites. It opens up discussions in our home about real-world issues, conflicts, and pressures that we all face. Those discussions can be a rarity in teenage years, and I'm grateful to Mrs. Ayau, Mr. Jacobs, Mrs. Dalton, and many others for encouraging reading for instruction as well as pleasure. So my ultimate question here is why? Why are we making it so difficult for students to have access to literature? What is wrong with the traditional opt-out policy? What is wrong with allowing trained professionals to choose materials for their classrooms? As a parent, I am much more concerned with what my children see on a screen than what they read in a book. At least with a book, they have to use their imagination. It is no secret that the education field is harder than ever. Every division has staff shortages. Why then are we adding more duties? Educators don't enter this profession for the pay, but take away their autonomy in the classroom, and I fear we will lose our best and brightest. In fact, just last night, Lynchburg City School Board rejected the opt-in policy, in part due to the logistical nightmare that it would cause. Change the policy back to opt-out. This still allows for choice for people that wish to do so. The verbiage recently changed to opt-in creates an unreasonable workload for educators and very much looks like micromanagement. At a time when TikTok, Instagram, Snapchat, and the internet reign supreme in our children's lives, literature is the very least of our worries.
Thank you, Mr. Fatter. Next we have Beverly Jones.
I'm Beverly Jones, District 5. Good evening. To the entire school board, I will say this. I serve on numerous committees and boards, from the Amherst County Public Schools Education Foundation to the Amherst County Planning Commission, with many, many more in between. I grew up in Amherst County being taught that God is love. What I've come to realize is that what some people mean is that God is love only if you have the same religious and political beliefs as they do. Let's face it, nobody is pushing pornography or CRT in the student sections of our school libraries. You need to stop this false narrative that many of you keep pushing out to the public. I urge board members, regardless of your own beliefs about book content and location, to remember this: no one on the right side of history has ever been on the side of bias, censorship, and book banning. Hate and fear disguised as moral outrage have no place in Amherst County Public Schools or Amherst County. If some of you believe that keeping books off shelves prevents students from accessing them, then you need to acquaint yourself with the internet. The citizens of Amherst County consist of taxpayers who are white, black, yes, brown, gay, straight, Christians of various denominations, and non-Christians. People from all backgrounds and walks of life. No small portion of this county should dictate what others have access to. Just because you don't want to read it or see it, that doesn't give you the right to deny others. It seems that your main goal is to erase Black history, my history. Since the majority of the books you want to remove are by Black authors, you have injected sexually explicit and CRT references to instill fear and panic in the parents. Is that the message you want to send? Why is your belief system more important than others? What will be next if you accomplish this mission? Our school system is laboring to rebound from months of lost educational opportunities. Some of you keep fouling those efforts by interjection of misinformation, lies, and distortion, and it did not originate here in Amherst County. Instead of being a part of the solution, some of you are creating problems where none exists. Your book challenges and the opt-in policy target those students who are diverse and different in our system. Do stop, just stop. Do not demean them. Do not diminish them, and stop belittling them. Remember your slogan, every child, every day. Start claiming it. Your teachers care, your administrators care, and I definitely care. And I ask, do you?
Ms. Jones. Next we have Ambria Wood.
Good evening. My name is Ambria Wood, and I live in District 4. I'm here today as a native Amherst County resident, an active member of my daughter's PTO, and most importantly, a concerned mother of a school-aged child who attends Amherst County Public Schools. As I sit here today, I'm confused, trying to understand how in the world did my little small hometown get here? The answer is simple, a lack of transparency. So let's talk about transparency. Put simply, it means hiding nothing or allowing others to look through the window with the blinds open. As an active participant in my daughter's education, I have not received a letter, an email, a voicemail, or newsletter asking how I feel about the opt-out policy that was in place up until last month. I also have not received any communication about the current opt-in policy. I have heard nothing about it at all except from the NAACP, who has been actively working on behalf of all children who attend Amherst County Public Schools. How is this possible? I'm the parent who stands up, as the sign says, all around Amherst County. I'm the parent at the PTO meeting, back to school night, communicating constantly with my child's teachers and administrators. If I'm not informed, then who is? The answer is simple. We aren't informed because not one of you even asked. Why haven't you asked? Because in my opinion, it appears as if the school board has lost focus on doing what is best for our children and teachers in public schools. Instead of being a board who supports our teachers who are teaching to a Virginia State Board curriculum, you have decided that parents know more than teachers and should get to opine upon lesson plans. However, when you think about it, the opposite is true. If I'm sending my child to public school, I expect my teachers and administration to ensure my child is meeting the standards to compete against other children not only in the state of Virginia, but also in the world. If I want to control what my child is taught and opine upon weekly lesson plans, then I will homeschool my child. If I'm wrong, the majority of parents and the majority of parents have objected to the opt-out policy. Show me these statistics and the data that support why you reversed the opt-out policy in place up until last month. Transparent communication means being consistent, being open, and being honest with your teachers, your parents, and your community at large, who voted you in to do what is best for our children. I ask that you reverse the opt-in policy to opt-out. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Wood. Next, we have Sam Soger. Did I say that correct?
Hey, y'all, board. Great to see y'all. Sam Soger, District 2 ACPS parent. You know, us parents and guardians, along with our students, are the primary stakeholders in this enterprise that is public education. We need ACPS to have your support. They are running the machine that educates our children. We can't have you disrupting that for a political agenda. Now, you have every right to object to a book in a library, just as you have every right not to read any novel if you so choose. But you do not have the right to disrupt our students' education. You entertain the musings of people who apparently have little to no knowledge of what's going on in any Amherst school, yet you brush aside the reality, which is the firsthand experience of the people who are actually in the schools. It's completely offensive to these principals, administrators, and teachers, as if you're imagining some kind of vast conspiracy that they're all in on. It's ludicrous. And the fact that this school board has caused tenured teachers to have to come down here to defend themselves, it's infuriating to myself and other parents. We don't need them wasting their time defending themselves. We need them focused on teaching the students reading. If you're offended by a famous American literature, that's fine. You have every right to live an isolated life, cut off from mainstream society. And I don't doubt that that's a potentially beautiful experience. But we don't all have that luxury, and it's certainly all of our right to participate in our society and have assigned to us the task of reading the great works of American art. Opt out is sufficient for parents or guardians who don't want whatever book. But how will opt-in be triggered? Is there a list of books? What is it? We need to understand better how this will be applied. You bring to the table materials that are not of your own making. They are standards set forth by some stranger to us whose words you are taking as gospel, and then you expect us to live under those rules. That's like Sharia law in places like Saudi Arabia. We don't do that here in the United States. Again, your right to practice your morals how you see fit, whether that's off the grid or right on Route 29, but that goes two ways. The rest of us, the majority of us, want not only to live righteous lives, but also want our students to get an education that includes reading famous American novels. We are also people with morals, and we trust these educators. I find the action of this board to be really disappointing. Ms. Aoyao, in her comments to you last month, is right. Banning books, silencing academics is a hallmark of fascist regimes. It's happened all over the world. What is going on with this school board? This is America. We don't ban books here. You know, apparently there were some ACPS families that opted their students out of witnessing Obama's inauguration. Will we all have to sign an opt-in form for the next time a black person is elected president? Because you've got us right now on a disturbingly slippery slope. The opt-in policy must be reversed. Thank you for your consideration.
Thank you, Ms. Soger. Next, we have Lynn Cable. Cable?
Hello, I'm Lynn Cable, and I believe I live in District 1. I am not a parent. I am a taxpayer, however, and I am very alarmed by the amount of money it is going to cost as I see it, as I see what's going to happen here. If you have everybody opting in for everything that you're teaching in the schools. Now, I'm sorry, but if you, instead of having people opt out and having a few kids whose parents don't want them in the class to be in a separate room, if you make it opt-in, I hear you're complaining that the parents are not getting involved and that the teenagers are not taking the paperwork home to be signed by their parents, either one or the other. It has the same effect, which is that the paper doesn't get back, it doesn't get signed. If the paper had to be signed either way, opt-in or opt-out, with an explanation of what that was, that would at least make some sense, because you would at least know what people thought. If you only have to opt in for your child to be able to read the standard curriculum, you're going to have most of the students having problems getting the paper back. Okay, now they get the paper back. Half of them bring the paper back, half of them don't. So now you got to have 2 classes for every single class. Every single English class is going to have 2 classes. Every single history class, if you don't like that they're teaching the Holocaust, you got to have 2 classes. I mean, it's going to cost a fortune. Who's going to pay for this? I mean, I'm very distressed about it. I think instead of money going for extracurriculars or for extra classes or for extra help for people that need it, you're going to be spending on it having 2 classes for English every period, 2 classes for history every period, 2 classes for civics, because it's so controversial what people think about civics. And I think that's dangerous. I think it really is. And for me, I mean, when my kids were in school, and I'm an old lady, so it was a long time ago, but one of the things that I found the most valuable was how many different people they got to meet in a public school from a different background, having different beliefs, having different thoughts, and how they got to value those thoughts and how they got to value and learn what they themselves thought. And I think that's really important, and I hope that you will go back to an opt-out theory, or, whatever it is. Opt-out what? Tell me what it is. Policy. And as they did in Lynchburg last night. So thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, Ms. Cable. Next, I have Ms. Gloria Witt.
Good afternoon. I think we got a theme going on here. Gloria Witt, District 3, President of NAACP. I want to talk about the January 23rd Amherst Republican Committee regular meeting last month, of which the English chair mentioned. The topic of that meeting was Education in America. Is pornography and CRT indoctrination in Amherst schools? Very specific. I found the definition a little bit different from the English chair. Indoctrination is defined as to fully accept the ideas, opinions, and beliefs of a particular group and not to consider others' ideas, opinions, and beliefs. Several school board members attended this meeting. This is their civil right to openly gain access to information. Our concern is that this type of information is a form of propaganda and indoctrination. So yes, indoctrination in Amherst schools is happening. The opt-in policy is an example to indoctrinate by limiting access to education by our board. So how does this play out? It's that policy, opt-in, is the manifestation of our school board disrupting education and controlling curriculum that is endorsed by the Virginia Department of Education. We talked about it. Sounds familiar? It builds a wall or a structural barrier for students to have access to broad knowledge necessary for critical thinking and decision-making. It facilitates the lie that public education is grooming students about gender, equity, diversity, and multiculturalism that must be erased. Sounds familiar? It feeds the fear that equity and diversity destroy American Christian traditional values and must be controlled. Sounds familiar? What are we to think? Those who have different life experiences and stories are invisible and their perspectives are irrelevant? Sounds familiar? Indoctrination happens when those in power positions infer that should the First Amendment fail to control education, then we still have the Second Amendment. Sounds familiar? The opt-in policy ignores the school board's responsibility to provide an equitable education to all students. This policy creates a structural barrier to automatic access to a curriculum that's already been approved by the school. When teachers push back, listen, they are in the trenches every day. Last month, they pushed back. Today, we're pushing back. We're sharing our concerns that's been identified by the administrative challenges that they experience, the negative impact on parents, and the impact of students learning when permission slips are not returned. Sounds like the voting rights era, when marginalized people and women had to jump through hoops to vote. Now the students must jump through hoops for knowledge. Are we making decisions in Amherst County fueled by indoctrination around pornography and CRT? You get to decide. And yes, maybe in some other state or county, pornography and CRT happens, but not in Amherst County. It's a non-issue, according to our administration and our teachers, but yet here we are. So our call to action is reverse the opt-in policy, back to opt-out. Opt-out provides free access to approved curriculum, content, books, and materials required to educate our students to be competitive in the future.
Your time's up, please. Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Witt. Next, we have Barbara Pryor.
Good evening, I'm Barbara Pryor, I'm District 3. Once Amherst County school members were chosen by our supervisors, the preservation and advancement of public schools with quality education for every child every day was the goal, not political control. In Virginia, hundreds of professional educators and members of the public have been involved in developing a statewide curriculum, a curriculum which allows students an inclusive, balanced, and broad education. Instead of appreciating that, school boards across the state are playing a shell game. After initially running as independent, we now have an openly partisan board members working to implement a biased, anti-democratic, right-wing agenda under the watchful eyes of political operatives. What is behind it all? Political power, minority control, and ultimately monetary gain. Many of these political operatives look back longingly to the days of Reaganism as an imagined golden age. What does that mean for education? It means eliminating the U.S. Department of Education, diverting public funds to private, parochial, and chartered schools, reducing funding desperately needed for existing schools, and despite First Amendment protections, supporting religious observances with taxpayer money. The impact has been felt throughout the public schools. Structural and equipment needs are neglected, increased academic demands meet unreasonable timelines, politically motivated standards are imposed, and critical thinking is not encouraged. Costly billboards and mass mailings designed to ignite alarm over imaginary issues are becoming the norm. Factions with extreme objectives are threatening to impose upon our young people an academic straitjacket, putting their future in danger. The political shell game played is well planned and funded, part of a nationwide effort to destroy public schools in America. Fear and panic are useful tools to mislead. Small concerns are magnified, and phantom issues are made to seem real. Just when our students are beginning to figure out who they are, they and their teachers are being used as pawns. The cost is severe. The future of our country is at stake. This country does not belong to mega donors like the Kochs and the DeVosses. It should not answer to the American Legislative Exchange Council lobbyists. It must not be unduly influenced by private educational institutions, be they large university or home-schooled advocates. Amherst County, especially the children, deserve better. Our administrators, teachers, and librarians are professionally trained, serious, and cautious. They are not reckless. They do not need a banned book list. Critical race theory is a debatable concept explored in university graduate-level schools. It has never been taught in Virginia's K-12 classrooms. There may be a problem on your TV, your home computer, or cell phone, but sexually explicit material, whatever the hell that means, is not running rampant in our schools. Some students and adults in our community, I will finish my time, I will take it. Some students and adults in our community, I'm sorry, I mean no disrespect, but do you all want me to finish? Some students and adults in our community may self-identify in ways that others have trouble comprehending, but they have human rights and they must be respected. Could we just try to show people as much love and respect as we do our firearms? Our local school boards must follow the Code of Virginia. Beyond that, it must answer to all citizens of America, not to a biased few. It is a job to be inclusive and welcoming, not exclusionary and restrictive. In good faith, I hope this board will continue to support our teachers, librarians, and other students by avoiding burdensome requirements. Please restate the opt-in policy for curriculum literature.
Thank you, Mrs. Pryor. Next, we have Belinda Gaines. I'm not speaking. Oh, okay. Next, we have Suzanne Chambers.
Good evening.
So I thought I'd start with historic integrity since it's so important to you. Some of you put it on a billboard. Brief history of book banning. History doesn't look fondly on any of it. And the earliest, 259 to 210 BC in China, where an emperor had all of his scholars killed and burned all of the books, so history would begin with him. The longest running is the Vatican's 400-year continuous ban on books that from 1559 to 1959. I actually sort of lived under that one because it takes a while for Vatican decrees to get to the schools, as you can imagine. Then, of course, putting Galileo in prison, burning all of his things, home arrest. So he had the audacity, imagine this, to say that the earth revolved around the sun. But they got around to forgiving him, the Vatican, in 1992. There you go. So we'll go to, it's so much. Members of the Alabama, this is 1983, members of the Alabama State Textbook Committee called for the rejection of the Diary of Anne Frank because it was a real downer. And oh yeah, there was some sexuality references, young teenage girl. Gee, that doesn't happen. During the Bosnian War, 1992, Serbian troops shelled the National Library in Sarajevo, destroyed between 1.5 million and 3 million volumes. One of the worst book burnings, I skipped the Nazi one, but we all know about that. In modern history, soldiers shot at anyone who tried to save a book. So you get the point. I love books. Books find me, I like to say. So I found this book last month in a box of used books. The Marxist Minstrels, a handbook of communist subversion of music. In case you didn't know what Marxist meant, we'll throw communist in the title because that'll get everybody rolling up. Well, usual suspects, Woody and Arlo, the Rolling Stones, the Beatles, Elton John. But it goes, it's like goes to cuckoo land because it says that singing your child to sleep is a hypnotic form of getting into their brain and making it easier for Marxist music to get in. So y'all, if you ever sung a kid to sleep, you were either a Marxist or you allowed them in. It's kind of like, okay, this guy, Marxists are responsible for the destruction, but I gotta tell you, his other treatise here is Christian Rock, a stratagem of Mephistopheles. So it was the devil that did that. Is that 3 minutes? Yes. It's so fast because I didn't have a good chance to get. Are they brainwashing our children? Oh, darn, next time, okay?
Okay. Thank you, Ms. Chambers. Next we have, I think it's John Ingram? John Ingram? Okay, sorry.
John Ingram from District 3. Concerned citizen. Freedom. I believe in the freedom to read and for all economic classes to have free access to all information, not just the rich. That means public libraries and schools owe it to young people to provide every book possible. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Next, we have Angela Patillo. Okay. And then next we have, I can't hardly make out the last name, but it looks like Kenya Thom. You opt out? Okay. Then we have Keisha Turner. Not speaking either? Okay. And lastly, we have maybe Felicia Lewis. Okay. She stepped out. Okay, so that's all that we have who signed up. Is there anyone else in the audience who would like to speak to the board? Please state your name and voting district.
Hello, my name is Cheryl Fales. I'm Amherst County High School public school teacher. I teach history. Thank you all for coming. Thank you all for listening. I am AEA. I think you heard that our community does want you to reverse opt-in, and we would prefer opt-out for every child, every day. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Is there any others in the audience, sir?
Board. My name's Jeff Porter. I live in Madison Heights. I think it's wonderful to be able to have different points of view talked about. I think this is the forum where that happens, so it's good to see it happen. My concern in this issue is that it's easy to talk about stereotypes on both sides, for both sides to use fear for their arguments, and to look at those who are on the edge of both sides as if they are mainstream for their particular point of view. I am a person who talked about the opt-in policy. That's my viewpoint. Just as people who have spoken this evening has talked about opt-out. We all want the best for our children. You all are in a difficult position. I don't know for myself if all of the community thinks one way or the other. All we hear is for those who come. So, you've been given a tremendous responsibility, and I am glad that you're willing to take that on. So thank you, board.
Thank you, Mr. Porter. Is there anyone else from the audience who'd like to approach the board? Seeing none, we'll close public comment and move on to 4.0 consent agenda.
Yes, I would just ask that you approve the consent agenda.
Okay.
Mr. Chair, we move for approval of consent agenda as written.
Do I have a second? Second. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Anyone opposed? Hearing none.
All right. So, Mr. Chair, since you approved the consent agenda, I do want to announce our new football coach who is here with us tonight, Mr. Chris Moore. Chris comes with us with 12 years of college experience, and he's an Amherst County graduate from 2005. So I do want to recognize him tonight. He is in the audience. And so, Chris, if you want to say a couple words.
I don't know if I need this microphone, but I feel like I can enunciate a little bit. But it is a joy and honor to be with you guys here tonight. I'm appreciative to the administration, I'm appreciative of the board of approving my post as head football coach. I'm truly humbled and honored, not only to serve Amherst County as its football coach, but also to join the dynamic faculty of Amherst County Public Schools, which we've heard from many here tonight. I actually texted Ms. Jones the other night. She said congratulations to me, and One story I'll share is I didn't have the luxury of having Miss Jones in middle school, but I know every day she greeted me with a smile. She had such a sense of joy when I came in the building, and I always remembered the way she made me feel. And so sometimes it's not always about the words that you say, but it's how you make people feel. And I always appreciate that about you, Miss Jones, and I'm glad I got to see you tonight. So I'm humbled and honored to join as head football coach and the dynamic faculty of ACPS. Appreciate you guys welcoming me here tonight, and I look forward to serving you for years to come. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, sir.
Looking forward to it. All right, next 5.0, information items.
Yes, so 5.01 is administrative. Dr. Hoden.
Okay, sorry. Yes, just want to, Mr. Rokes and I just want to update you on the new construction. We've been meeting with teachers, welding, agriculture, auditorium, and cafeteria, and we hope to have those things completed within the next week or two. And Mr. Rokes is going to talk a little bit about the actual application process through DEQ.
So our architect, CRA, has already submitted the Department of Environmental Quality forms, everything for basically the parking lot side over there where the county purchased the Burley property, so that's been done. And the next aspect is waiting to get response back to them, from them rather, and from there, CRA will start sending out the bids. We anticipate that happening in the next 2 to 3 weeks. The reason we want to hold off sending out the bid package through CRA is to see if DEQ has any major issues, because we don't want to send out the package prior to that and they have major issues when they have to change things. So anyway, we anticipate that package will go out next 2 to 3 weeks. As we mentioned before, we'd open the bid package. The bids will be open until about the March, April timeframe, review those in May, and if everything goes according to schedule, looking at a June, July type thing to break ground. So we're in that process. We're also in the process of working to demo the existing house. We're in that process of getting some quotes in as far as that goes. So hopefully that'll happen next month or so as well. Get that property ready for the construction.
Thank you, gentlemen. Board, anything? Okay. Thank you, Dr. Hoden.
Before I go on to 5.02, just a quick reminder, you have the SAC listing at your stations, just as a reminder for the dates you've signed up. And then the 3 board members that were here tonight, Ms. Justice, Ms. Ligon, and Mr. Greiser, you're on the School Board Discipline Committee for the rest of the semester, and I'll communicate with you on that. As far as 5.02, you have in front of you the student suspensions for January 2023.
Board, any comments on? Okay.
Okay. Thank you.
All right, so we also have Ms. Patron's going to discuss an initiative we started with the state called Engage Virginia. Ms. Patron?
Thank you, Dr. Wells. Good evening. So as everyone knows, we've been having a few issues with attendance this year, and our chronic absenteeism rates have been high. The Virginia Department of Education has recognized that this is a problem across the state, and they have partnered with Graduation Alliance, and they are offering a free supportive solution, I would say, for chronic absenteeism. Basically, we share some of our students' information with them, and they work to get those students re-engaged in school. And they reach out and talk to families. It's completely free for both families and the school division. We have decided that this is something that might help with our problem, and we are going to participate in this program. We plan to put out information to families and to school staff tomorrow and into Monday and Tuesday of next week, just to make sure everybody's aware of what's going on. But this is a free program offered by the Virginia Department of Education. I'll take any questions.
And it is voluntary. We notify the families they have to get permission to participate.
Okay. Board, any questions? Okay. Okay. Moving on, 6.01.
So Ms. LaConge is going to fill you in on our budget process.
Good evening, Mr. Chair, members of the school board. Tonight before you is your January financial report. It's really no change from the December reporting as far as our expenditure concerns. We still have those same items. We have discovered what will make me stop talking about fuel, and that's electricity. So overall, for the year, we're up about 20%. However, we know that the rate increases from AEP did not go into effect until the last couple months, and just in January, they are up 35%. So we will be talking about this when we present the budget and also for our board retreat, but I just wanted to pass that along. Since our last meeting, we have received some information regarding our state revenue, and I wanted to pass that along to you. As you recall, at the January meeting, we had said that we knew that we were going to have a decrease in our state funding, and that was based off of the ADM and some technical updates with the December 16th calc tool. So that was something that was on our radar. We then received, after that meeting, notification that there was an error in the state's calc tool. You may have seen it in the media, and it involved that new line item for the grocery tax, and it wasn't backed out of the basic aid. So this is impacting every school division. It is impacting both fiscal year 23 and fiscal year 24. So we do not have a new updated calc tool from the governor's budget. However, they did give us how we could calculate it, and it's looking like for this year, it's going to be about another $244,000 decrease. Now, there's been a whole lot of discussion because, again, this impacts every school division, and it was very promising that the House and Senate proposed budget is having hold harmless in this fiscal year. So we have not received the calc tools. We are expecting those next week, and we can give you an update and pass that along to you as well once we have better numbers. Do you have any questions?
Okay. Board, anything for Ms. Lukanich?
Question, Chair. Ms. Lukanich, so if I understand you correctly, the hold harmless would compensate for the reduction in revenue, so we wouldn't this year experience that loss, is that correct?
The $244,000, yes.
Okay, thank you.
They did not have any hold harmless stated for next fiscal year. However, they are working to see what they can do to minimize the impact to school divisions.
Thank you.
Okay, anything else, board? Okay, moving on, 7.01.
So 7.01 is instruction. I'll turn it over to Dr. Norman.
Thank you, Dr. Wells. Mr. Chairman and members of the board, I've got an easy night tonight. I get to tell y'all all great things. The first item is about mid-year testing. So we will finish up tomorrow with our Virginia Department of Education's Student Growth Assessment Test in reading and math for grades 3 through 8. And then on February the 24th, we will have finished up benchmark testing for any student who will take an SOL test at the end of the year. So we can have some mid-year data, see where they are in the process of their learning, what they've mastered, and then be able to help teachers take that data and redirect instruction to support and kind of pull those learning gaps and help our students by the time we get to testing time in May. I will have all of that data for you at the March meeting, so you'll be able to see kind of where we are across the board for all of our schools and our students. The next thing I'd like to talk about are our grants. We've got some exciting news specifically for the high school. We applied for the Community Schools Grant for Amherst County Public Schools, specifically for Amherst County High School. And we were one of 16 divisions out of the 132 divisions in the state who were awarded this grant. The grant is for $324,000 and some odd dollars that we will be able to have a community school building project, not building as in facilities, but building the bridge between the community and what goes on in the school and around the school for our students. We will start working with a team and a committee from the high school along with the instructional department here to kind of bridge that gap and make sure that we have exactly what the high school is looking for in regards to attendance, specifically attendance, in regards to bringing the community back into our schools to see what's going on and to re-engage our kids in active learning in the school environment. So that is a huge win for us as a division, and I'm just thanking the people who put their hard efforts into getting this grant for us. It was a team effort, and I appreciate all that they have done for us. And we'll have more information once we form a committee. We just found out yesterday. Dr. Wells was notified yesterday. Along with that, we're also applying for a 21st Century grant for 4 of our schools. The max amount that we can apply for is $250,000. Dr. Marvin McGinnis is heading that up for us. It will be for Madison Heights, Central Elementary, Amherst Middle School, and Manelison Middle School. And we hope we will have information over the next couple of months to let you know we've also received that grant, but we are in the process of applying for that. We also are in our third project with a joint CVCC grant application it's called the Lab School, where it actually does a clear pathway from middle school in the area of CTE, going from middle school to high school to community college and into career. And it is a joint effort with Dr. Capps at Central Virginia Community College and Mr. Maddox in regards to what we're going to do with that particular grant. It's a regional program, and so Amherst County wants to be a part of that, just like we are with the CTE Academy. So we're very excited about that. And then I have 2 other items that you have information that was provided to you. The VSBA art contest. We have already started with our students in our art classes on a competition. They will select those top winners, which then you will, Dr. Wells, will take to the VSBA, and it will represent our division at your conference that's coming up. Also, Read Across America, if you starts March the 2nd. It is a day where we open up our schools for people to come in and read to our students. And I would tell you to, go ahead, Dr. Wells.
Well, since we scheduled our school board retreat for the budget for March 2nd, therefore we can't go to the schools on March 2nd to read to our students. So I'm going to work with the schools to see if we can pick a different day. Just a general day for us to go in and read. So, but March 2nd is our retreat. Unless y'all want to go there early and then come back in for the
Usually
retreat.
are kind of early, aren't they? Like 9, 10, that's when I've gone.
Yeah, it varies depending on what grade you're reading to. So, yes, sir.
So,
We'll figure something out.
Either
Even
way.
if we videotape you, Mr. Greiser.
or we'll pick a different day and pick a day for y'all to go into the schools. And we all go in a different day if you want, as opposed to March 2nd.
And the last 2 things that I have, Digital Learning Day is February 23rd for our students and our staff. Our ITRTs do a phenomenal job working with our teachers on internet safety programs that they have implemented and all of the things that we do in our digital learning program. And then parent-teacher conferences. If I can give a shout out to every single one of our teachers in the division, they went above and beyond the call of duty, and we had a total across the division 837 parent conferences that our teachers held, talking about children, talking about what's going on in the classrooms, engaging the parents in what's taking place in the classroom. And so I appreciate that from our teachers. You know, they stayed late, they made sure they had phone calls, they signed up parents for it, so it was just an extra thing that we were able to get back to this year that we haven't been able to do in the past couple of years. And that is all that I have. If you have any questions, I'll be more than happy to answer.
Board, any questions? Okay. Thank you, Dr. Norman.
Thank you.
Moving on, 8.01.
It's 8.01, Human Resources. Mr. Gallagher.
All right, Mr. Chair, members of the board, good evening. I will start just by reiterating and saying thank you to all of our teachers, support staff, administrators, and all of our employees in Amherst County Public Schools, because we have a tremendous team here in this division, so I'm very grateful for that. The first item I have tonight for you is our current vacancy memo. You have that in front of you. Soon you will have that broken out a little differently. In March, I will start putting the current vacancies as well as next year's vacancies broken out, depending on who may be leaving at the end of the year. But I'll take any questions that you might have.
Board, any questions? Okay.
Good, all right. The second memo you have is our 2023-24 ACPS Professional Development Plan. This is updated annually and provided to you each year to make sure it remains current and accurate for your information purposes. So you've had that posted for review, and I'll take any questions regarding that memo as well.
Board, anything? Ms. Justice?
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Gallagher?
Yes,
Hi
ma'am.
there.
Hi there.
Our professional development, are we doing that like in-house, or is this through VSBA, or?
It's not through VSBA. It is partially in-house. It's through different educational providers, VASCL, not a VSBA group, which is a consortium that provides professional development professionally. We provide a lot of it ourselves. We create a lot of our own professional development. There is a lot of PD that comes to us, and we review and vet through our instructional specialists and myself, and we send that out as well, broadcast that information so that folks can take advantage of that. And we also do maintain that and house that information so that we can also prescribe that, if you would, where needed and necessary.
And another question. I think it's my understanding that if teachers desire to get some professional development that maybe hasn't been listed, that they are supported in that as well.
They
right?
certainly can. They can
Great.
request to attend a variety of different professional development opportunities. It does have to be approved, first through their administrator, then it goes through, assistant superintendent's office and so forth, just for travel authorization. But as long as it is appropriate and relevant to their professional growth, and it's something that was within reason, then we'll approve those opportunities. And they can receive professional development recertification points for that as well.
That's awesome. Thank you.
Yeah. Yes, ma'am.
Anything else on the board?
Mr. Chair?
Ms. Bird?
Yes, Mr. Gallagher, I was
ma'am.
wondering, is there any thought to maybe changing up how we're going out and looking for new teachers to come to the school?
What do you mean by new approaches? I'm getting ready to talk about one of them, but what are you
well.
asking? I guess, what are you speaking of as far as new approaches?
And a way we can get these positions filled for our students.
Oh, I see. Okay. Well, we have had significant efforts to do so. Part of the issue is that throughout the course of the year, there are very few qualified applicants anywhere in the pool. There are a few that graduate, during mid-year, and we do try to promote our fine division at that time. We use social media. We use a lot of advertising. We connect with all of our university partners, not just regionally, but throughout the state and in other states, to share our information in our openings. We have a lot of promotion in that regard to try to put the word out there as to why this is a destination for educators and aspiring leaders to come.
And any hopeful possibilities on getting some more of those bus driver positions filled?
Well, we are always hopeful to get those bus drivers filled, and we do obviously appreciate when we are able to secure those. We did have grant funds out there and bonuses available for a while. That period is now over. That did actually produce results, and I think the last time I reported, we had hired, I believe, 3 full-time and several part-time positions through those bonuses. So that was productive, but again, it is a position that ebbs and flows and is very valued, but we do continue our efforts to broadcast that. I will touch base a little bit on that on my next segment. So,
All right, thank you.
you're welcome.
Yes, ma'am. Ms. Burke, Ms. Justice.
Thanks, Chair. Mr. Gallagher, on our science teacher openings there, do we have long-term subs
We
in
do.
those positions? Awesome.
We
So
do.
there's continuity of instruction there. Thank you.
That is correct, and actually, it says 3 there, and we have now hired one of those for next year. So it will be filled as of next year. It will no longer be a vacancy, but that is not a current vacancy. Individuals under contract currently.
Thank you.
You're welcome. All right.
Anything else on the board? Okay, Mr. Gallagher?
The next thing you have in front of you is a flyer. I hope you have that in front of you for our Education Career Fair, which is on February 25th. That is going to run from 9 to 11:30 for our in-person fair, and then we will have a 12 o'clock to 2 o'clock virtual interview session for people who can sign up. We have been promoting this pretty broadly, sending this information out through social media, through our website, through our university partners. We have a commercial upcoming on WSET that we're going to preview in just a moment here. This is a huge opportunity for us to put the word out there, to have amazing, qualified, aspiring educators to come join our family. That will be held here in this room, and I do encourage any and all of you to come that morning and be present to walk around, to meet some of our aspiring candidates that are coming through, to see who they are and share good information about Amherst County Public Schools. That opportunity is something that we look forward to every year. So we are also, we have created a commercial to help broadcast this. The more play we can get there, the better. So as of Monday on WSET, we will begin to run a commercial that was produced here. I have to give a shout out to two individuals, Miss Naomi Giles and Miss Madison Massey. Together, the planning and production of the commercial we're about to show, they worked long and hard to do that, and I feel like came up with a great product. And for all of you, I will forward you the schedule of when that's going to air on WSET, so you can look for that when it does play as well. So, Ms. McNerney, if you're able.
Amherst County Public Schools is recruiting talent for all departments and positions in preparation for the 2023-24 school year. Join us Saturday, February 25th from 9 a.m. to 11:45 for the ACPS Education Career Fair located at our school administration building. We offer competitive salaries, a high-quality mentor program, and a supportive work environment. To register, please visit the ACPS website and click on Job Seekers at the top of the page. We hope to see you Saturday, February 25th.
So hopefully that will be out there and also will attract some folks. I think we're competing with a few other divisions that also have their career fair on that day. Those other divisions do not have a virtual component in the afternoon, but we do want to make sure we attract as many quality individuals to join our team as possible. And I will say that this is a time when all of our current teachers and those that are out there listening need to know how much we do support them in all their efforts and all the things that they do and how much we value them, because they are the crux of everything. The teachers and all of our employees. I've always said that our employees in every position are all educators, and they all make a difference in the lives of every child every day. So we will also be hosting a support staff fair over in the county administration conference room down the way. So we will be hiring that morning also for bus drivers, custodial staff, instructional assistants, and so forth, and all the support positions. So we really want to make an impact and attract amazing educators, and if your help is welcome in that effort. So thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Gallagher.
Oh, yes, sir.
Moving on to 9.01.
9.01, we have student representatives. Ms. Fatima Grace is not here with the evenings, but Evan is. So I'll turn it over to Evan.
All right. I gotta be honest, I wasn't looking that this was coming up, but. So sadly, my other representative, Mrs. Fatima Grace, was not able to come today, but I do have a few things I will mention later that she said for me to tell you about how school is going. And first, I'd like to start with some brief notes. Basketball for boys wrapped up, girls soon. Soccer's full screen, indoor track is right on its last limb. There's a lot of things going on with college decisions right now. Early acceptance letters are getting back February 15th for most people, so that's pretty cool. There's a college board next to the Future Center, so whenever someone gets accepted and commits, they go and put up there, and it's pretty encouraging to the other students, the seniors especially. Another thing I would like to note is I got an email about the Amherst County Public Schools Diversity Council in partnership with Show Up Amherst hosting a Future Opportunities Night coming up in March and later on. And they've asked some students to volunteer there. I'd be very happy to do so, and it sounds pretty cool. I'll read off some right here that they elaborated on. It said that the goals outlined in the ACPS Comprehensive Strategic Plan and empower families to make more informed decisions for their children, and that the night would be divided into sections in which social time was spent to enjoy snacks, and then mini sections for the parents and the students to sort of break off. Students are given hands-on learning, and parents are informed of some opportunities given to the students in the future. And I'd just like to acknowledge how much that really means to the families and the students and the instructors to have these opportunities, because we all want to see the students succeed. And it's really nice to see reaching out like this for student volunteers to share their experience. And for example, me sharing my experience here, you know, I'm a member of this whole thing too, so it's really nice to see everybody being heard. And moving on to what Fatima Grace would have said if she was here. She mentioned that Mrs. Ratliff hosted a student town hall where students could give feedback on how to better the high school. So it's sort of giving back student perspective on what they want changed. And our principal, Mr. Crawford, also has some student forms sent out to receive feedback on all grade levels to kind of get a more varied analysis on which students in which grade levels thought certain things about the school and which could be improved. And another thing she mentioned was that senior class officers had a taco night before the varsity boys senior night. And the student section for that, she said, was amazing. I can attest to that. I was there. And finally, what she said was that they're planning to have an ice cream sundae bar Monday for the varsity girls game to celebrate that. And that's what she had to say. And one more thing I'd like to mention that's pretty cool, the scholarship board in the senior classroom is really helpful. I go there every day to talk to Mrs. Wallen, and seeing that being put up and updated constantly is really reaffirming to the whole process of applying to college, and I'm really thankful and grateful for her and everybody here today. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Fink. 10.01.
Yes, sir. Mr. Chair, members of the board, we'll start with Regulation IIA. It was at your place. That's the draft version of that. Again, that is to, when the board changed the policy from opt-out to opt-in, we had to readjust many of our regulations along those lines, so we're in the process of updating those regulations. What you have in front of you there is a draft of those regulations, and we're still in the process of that. So if you see anything, again, it's for regulations, it's not like policy where you have to approve it. It is for your awareness, but if you see anything that stands out, please let us know so we can discuss. I'll turn it over to Dr. Norman and Mr. Maddox if they have anything to add. If you have any questions, we'll be glad to answer. But this is for you to review. I think probably next month when we come in, probably our time to discuss.
Okay.
Give you some time to review.
Great. Thank you, sir. Board? Yes. Ms. Justice?
You, Dr. Wells.
Ma'am.
Question for you. So my understanding is that this new policy is not removing a previous opt-out, but is an opt-in for exclusively sexually explicit instructional material. Am I correct in that?
The way the policy was written based on the board was it would be to be in compliance with the opt-in, opt-out. The compliance aspect of that was the sexually explicit material had to have a policy in place. The board decided to go with the opt-in for those sexually explicit materials. So materials that are not sexually explicit would not need to have an opt-in, but there's those that are sexually explicit.
So we still have our non-sexually explicit opt-out. Is that correct?
If a parent does not wish to have their child participate in any lesson, they have the right to opt them out of any lesson. This policy that we had drafted was based off of the sexually explicit materials and is just along those lines for sexually explicit content.
Okay, and so if I understand correctly, I've heard from teachers, we have no sexually explicit content in the instruction. So for our teachers currently, does this add any work to them?
It depends on what they're teaching, right? I can't sit there and say it wouldn't add work. I know for sexual education, that does have sexually explicit content, so we'll have input there. I do know for anatomy and physiology, we'll have to have some discussions there as far as how we work that. As far as English and social studies, it depends on what they opt to teach and how they opt to do that lesson. If they were to do a lesson that might have some reading that had some content that could be considered sexually explicit by state code, yes, it would affect them.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Board, anything else? Dr. Wells?
All right. So, budget update. So, February 23rd, I will present a budget to you on February 23rd. Right now, we are waiting on the calc tools to be reconfigured because the governor's calc tool that was recently sent to us, the Department of Education made a mistake in how they made that calc tool, so really can't use that to build our budget. We do know that it's, as we said from what Ms. O'Connor said earlier, that's going to be about $200 and some thousand this year, just in the remainder of this year, but it could also impact us based off the money that was not appropriated that we anticipated being appropriated is around $500,000 for next year, between $500,000 and $600,000, based off the governor's budget. We are waiting for the Senate budget, which helps us a lot. The House budget does not help us as much to determine where we're going to be. So hopefully next week, the crossover was yesterday. So hopefully next week we'll get the calc tools. We can work through the calc tools and have a better idea of how the fine print of all these budget amendments worked out for us to know exactly where we're going to be. But I'll say right now, we will anticipate needing to ask the county for additional funds based off of what we know right now. Any questions?
Dr. Wells?
Sir.
I got to backtrack a little bit. I was having a little technical difficulty before. In this policy that we're going to review.
The IIA regulations?
Correct.
Correct.
Regulations. Is there anything in there that's talking about banning books?
Not in the regulations, no.
Nothing in the regulations? Was there anything in the opt-in policy that talked about banning books?
No.
There was nothing about banning books. Okay, I was just kind of wondering where that comment was coming from this evening. Okay, thank you.
Okay.
So, Board, any questions for Dr. Wells on the proposed budget?
I will add March 2nd as our retreat to discuss the budget. And then, so we have the 23rd and March 2nd. 23rd is just I present the budget to you. It's not really a question and answer. We'll go through the budget. I'll give you budget books at the end. You review the budget for the next 2 weeks. Then on March 2nd, we sit down here all day and get to discuss the ins and outs of the budget in more detail, and then move forward from there. And then we'll present our budget request to the county in March.
Okay.
Thank
you, Dr. Wells.
All right. I'd emailed and spoke to many of you about a board governance meeting on March 4th. I know Ms. Justice said she would be out of town, but I think it'd still be good for us to meet on March 4th. If y'all are in agreement, I'll get that set up for March 4th that morning at 9 a.m. Be a 2-hour meeting from 9 to 11. Just go over governance and other issues that we may be facing.
Board?
Okay.
Ms. Justice, you can't join us? Okay. Okay. I think everybody's in agreement.
All right, okay. The next I have is the state of the division. I plan on recording a video update on the status of the division, sort of like the president did the other night on State of the Union. It'll be the state of the school division. It's not going to be a live thing. It's going to be something I record 5-10 minutes. We'll have something posted just on the state of the division. So I'll have that hopefully by the end of the month, and we'll have it posted by early March. I want to discuss the community dinner. I appreciate everybody who came to that. I know we have some folks in the audience tonight who were there. I know several board members attended, and my staff that was engaged in that and involved in that, as well as GLAD for their contributions, Iron Lives, Amherst Education Foundation, and our Show Up Amherst team. So I do want to thank everyone for that. We had 177 people show up. It was a great night. We intend to try to do it again next year, maybe bigger and better, but I think it was a great night for the first time and everybody showing up. And then also our public service folks who were there, our emergency services, sheriff's office, town police, and all who were there, and everybody else who was there for that evening. So it was a great night, and we appreciate everybody who was there. So I just want to update you on that, and I thought it was a good evening, so thanks to everybody who was involved. So you had mentioned a public hearing regarding the budget. So if I look at our calendar, our next scheduled board meeting is March 9th. So if you would like, we could schedule a public hearing, if that's the board's discretion, regarding the budget during the March 9th school board meeting. Just have a special session for public comment on our budget. I know that was something you discussed earlier this year. So if that's the decision of the board, then we will schedule that for March 9th as part of our regularly scheduled board meeting instead of having a separate meeting to discuss the budget.
Board, your thoughts?
How do we get the information out to the public prior to the meeting so they could make comment on it?
So after I present the budget to you, it will be published on our website.
That's March 2nd?
The February 23rd when I present the budget.
Okay,
That's the
great.
budget we will be presenting. That's what we will present, and then whatever changes you deem after that, we would just have to update. But the February 23rd would be the one we would post.
So that'll give the public 2 weeks to
Correct.
review. Thank you.
Anyone else? Okay.
So
Dr. Wells?
I'm hearing that's the decision.
I think so.
And we'll schedule. Okay, thank you. So we have the South Regional Spring Forum, which is VSBA at Mecklenburg High School. It's a brand-new high school they just opened this year. And that's the VSBA. That's where we take the artwork down. I think we have to get there at 5 o'clock, Ms. Ligon, I believe. And so far, Ms. Ligon, Ms. Thompson, Ms. Justice have said you want to attend. So if anybody else wants to go, you're more than welcome. I'll get the van, and we can hop in the van and drive down to Mecklenburg County. About a 2-hour drive, so we'll do our plan accordingly. But that is March 7th. So I'll be glad to drive anyone who wants to ride with me. And we'll be taking our artwork. All right. And then the last I have is sometimes the good idea fairy hits every now and then. And it hit again a couple months ago. So we've been planning on this, but we're planning a community leaders breakfast. March 8th at Sweetbriar College. It'll be at the Wales Lounge at Florence Elston Conference Center. We are posting things out. Really want our board of supervisors, community leaders, business leaders in the community to come together for a community breakfast. About an hour, maybe longer if people have conversation, but the purpose of this is for us to kind of talk about what the school system has to offer businesses and the community, but also for the community to talk to us about what do they need out of Amherst County Public Schools. And then have people be aware of all the programs we have, but also for us to be aware of what the needs are for certain businesses and how we can better meet their needs. So it's going to be an area for us to kind of have some just good conversation. It's not going to be a lot of me talking. It's going to be other people just having some conversation about what we have in Amherst County and how we can bring our community together, continue to bring our community together. As you know, that's been a focus of mine throughout since since you appointed me as superintendent, is how can we re-engage with our community and how can we bring our community together? And I feel this is a way that would help with that. So it'll be a breakfast. Again, it'll be at the Wales Lounge at the Florence Elston Conference Center on March 8th at Sweetbriar College. And we'll have more to put out on that. We have some flyers that'll be going out tomorrow. I want to let you know first before it became official. We'll send some flyers out tomorrow, and y'all all be invited. Any questions?
Board, any questions?
Sounds awesome.
Thank you, Dr. Wells.
Thank you. That's all I have.
So moving on now to 12.01, individual school members, and also your committees and personal reports. We can do them all at the same time. So Mr. Arasi, would you start us off, please?
Absolutely. Well, we had our first STEM committee meeting. That was quite interesting. We did it by Zoom. They've got a lot of good plans. We did approve a budget, and looking forward to learning a little bit more about that. I've been a little taxed this month, busy-wise. Didn't have a chance to meet up with anybody yet, but next week things should clear up, and maybe we can get together and take a tour and see what's really going on there. And it's an amazing program. I am amazed at what they're doing there and moving students toward careers. I think it's a great program, and it's not just Amherst. I didn't realize that it expanded out throughout, the counties, and it's a good program, and I look forward to working with the rest of the people there and moving it forward. Comments tonight, thank everybody for all the support. We've got a ton of cards to look at and read, and I have a plan. And also, there was some amazing artwork in my bag. I appreciate that. Yeah, it's not easy sitting on this side of the bench. We try to do our best to look out for the children and everything that we do and say. And yes, we have a little bit of work to do on some policy. But the good thing is that policy can change. Doing what's best for the children is the reason I ran for the school board. And I have grandkids in the school, and I know there's been a lot of discussion, and I'm glad it brought it out, and the discussion about the opt-in, the opt-out, and I hope we continue to have discussion about it. Hopefully, you know, with our policies being a little more specific on what opt-in and what opt-out is. I've heard several times that, you know, the classes don't include sexually explicit material. Therefore, an opt-in really shouldn't impact the teacher. And I've heard a lot about reading novels. And that is concern too, because I know there's some graphic content in some novels, but they're amazing literature. And I don't think we should stop the children from seeing them and reading them and experiencing those novels. But a novel is written in a way where it's connected. And it doesn't mean that that novel can be excluded from our policy. You know, it's just, it's going to be a work in progress. You know, and most of the teachers I know don't teach sexually explicit material, and the opt-in won't affect them at all. You know, and I was concerned about the banning of books. No, I do not want to ban books, and I don't think anybody on this board is okay with banning books. I think everybody has the right to age-appropriate books. Let's put it there. You know, there's some things, you know, I wouldn't let my 7-year-old granddaughter look at certain material. I just wouldn't. And I would hope that the school would understand that and protect her. And that's exactly, you know, what we do here. We try to protect the children, but give them the freedom to learn, age appropriately. Yep, that's all I got.
Thank you, Mr. Rossi. Ms. Justice?
Thank you very much. First of all, I just want to say thank you very much to the people who came and spoke today and used this opportunity to communicate their feelings. I was concerned that there seemed to be a lot of misinformation out there and that we're not replacing an opt-out policy. The opt-out is still available for instructional materials that people aren't comfortable with, but that there is a new policy for sexually explicit instructional material. And it is just making certain that parents know what's there and that they get to sign off on sexually explicit according to Virginia code. And as there is not sexually explicit material being taught in our department, that shouldn't cause any extra work for our instructors. What I've heard from teachers that I've spoken to is that they hadn't read Virginia code or even the policy sometimes. And so they had an understanding that wasn't complete. So I would just say, go ahead, read the policy, read the code. Another thing to consider is that for the books that are in our school library, I had an administrator tell me that, well, we can't look at the book reports for those books because of our technology policy. They would be flagged as sexually explicit. So if we have books in our library that our school computers won't allow us to look at a book report about it, obviously there's some, because of sexually explicit material, there's a discontinuity there. So I would say that that is something to consider. I'm on the governor's committee, and I was not able to attend this month, but I'm looking forward to attending it in March. And Evan, I was so encouraged by your scholarship board. I understand that you appreciated it, and it took me back to, oh my gosh, all those scholarship applications for college. And I'm just really blessed by our community, our teachers, our instructors, our administration that are so motivated to empower, encourage, and motivate you guys. So I'm really excited, and I look forward to hearing about which ones you get coming up. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Justice. Ms. Byrd?
Yes, I'd like to apologize for being late. I actually had an opportunity to meet Mr. Parker, who was one of the leading lawyers on overturning Roe versus Wade, so I had that great opportunity, but I made it here as fast as I could. I would like to thank all our community speakers today. I would like to thank Evan. I always love hearing him speak. He just sounds like a radio personality. He's got a great radio voice. And also, I had a great opportunity this week. I went to Reedy's Archery in Ambria Plaza, shot my first bow with some of our students, got 2 bullseyes, by the way, so I was quite happy. Great program down there. I like to encourage all our families, our students to go down there and actually get involved with some of the archery items he has there. He opens it up to the community. He has a lot of youth that just come in, they shoot bows all day and stay out of trouble and have fun. Great opportunity. And I think that's about it, but thank you so much.
Thank you, Mr. Berg, Ms. Berg. Mr. Greiser?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I kind of adopted a brevity policy with these comment sections here as of late, but I'm going to take a little extra time tonight. First, the student deaths, I overlooked that last week. It is, as news comes, as they find the other missing students, that it's a sad situation, and it is. My thoughts go out to the staff and community with that, and as we heal from that. Thank you for this school board appreciation stuff. I've made it known that it's a little friendly banter between Ms. Ligon and I. I don't like that kind of stuff. I don't like gifts and attention and that kind of thing, but I do appreciate it and the efforts that all the schools put out. The video is very nice. Welcome, Coach Moore. Friday football, Friday Night Lights here in Amherst. You were part of it, and now you get to lead it, and that's exciting. School Counselor Week. Great job that they do. I want to recognize them. I'm looking forward to bringing my kids to the school board clerk appreciation parade that we have going on. Maybe have some fire engines and stuff, Miss McNerney. I appreciate that. And then this next part, I'm going to try to remember this kindness week coming up, because I've going through a little bit of a midlife crisis and trying to make sure that I'm a good example for my kids and those kind of things. I want to touch on 2 things, because I wasn't here when we voted on the policy, the instructional material policy. All right, and I don't care what labels this puts on me, because this is how I feel. I'm against the opt-in, and it's for this reason, not because my 3 children, and I'm not doing this for that. But thank you though. My 3 children in the school system, I'm not concerned about them being taught something about that, because I know these teachers. I'm a product of the school system. All right, I've spent 13 plus years in there. I've had the fortunate to be have these teachers mentor me, to leave lasting impressions on my life. And my opposition to the opt-in is not to open the door for any of this, because I trust that it wasn't going on. We still haven't seen evidence in Amherst County that it went on. And I think the message that we send as this board is that we do the exact same things they're talking about. It's a message of distrust. And listen, we are elected, and I know we're on this parental rights paradigm right now, and I'm a parent. I do not relinquish my rights to my children. But as an elected official, as a member of this board, we also oversee the school system, and there's a balance. We take the input of the parents and we make informed decisions, and we also consider the staff, because the message that I keep hearing is like, whoever's in our ear, forsake the staff, and that drives me nuts, because they work hard every day. We sit here and have these inquisitions to Mr. Gallagher about why can't we find staff? Why can't we find staff? Did we not? No. And the reason is that if we don't see that we're causing this environment of distrust, that we have to micromanage every single decision. They go to school to learn about things and to make these decisions, and not a single one of them come in there with malice in their heart to do something to these kids. And I'm sick of this fear that keeps getting promulgated by these ridiculous. That's the instructional material. Now, I do think there's some confusion. There is a library thing that's coming around, okay? The library material, again, here we go with the misinformation thing. And we're talking about transparency. I think we've cited these book challenges, but the book challenges have come from one board member that doesn't even have their kids in the school system, and that drives me nuts. I have bit my tongue long enough about that. All right, I care about this division. And then the part with this meeting, the National Enquirer type poster to put this fear in the community, and all if you don't recognize that what it does to the school system, that it undermines the reason that you're on this board is it's just to promote this school system as something that's beneficial to the community, it hurts. I bit my tongue when I saw the notice. I didn't know that was going on. And when I found out about it, I was livid. My wife sat there and was trying to calm me down, and she knows how I get when I get uptight about some of these things. But to not even, you're talking about one-sided. You invited people that have never set foot in the school building. You didn't even have the common courtesy to invite the superintendent to give a position or defense of the school division. That's ridiculous. I didn't get elected on any party platform. I've gotten so special in the last few years, I don't affiliate with any party platform. I'm going to speak my mind, and I'm going to do what I feel from my raising, from my education that I feel is right and ethical to people. And we've got to, at some point, come back to center and realize that there's people on both sides of the fence, and we've got to stop depriving our children because we're worried about what they might learn. I raise my kids, if they learn something in school, I can also have a good conversation with them at home to explain my values. And that's what I'm growing more and frustrated. I don't want to see this turn into some kind of circus. I never imagined 3 years ago when I came on this board that we would deal with the things that we're dealing with. You know, I came on this board because, again, I'm a product of this system. I love this county. I have a fond admiration for the employees that work in this division because my wife is one of them, so I'm a little partial. But I want to tell you, we've got to start realizing that we cannot be political pawns, that we have got to make decisions that are in the best interest of the school division, and also not just listen to the parental side all the time, but that we've got to figure out the middle and respect our staff to make those decisions. Because again, I'm not relinquishing my rights. I'm going to make decisions to make my kids, make sure they're safe and make sure they don't learn something or have access to something that I don't approve of. But these ridiculous, the opt-in for the instructional it's a childhood playground argument to say, well, if you ain't going to teach it, you ain't got to worry about it. Again, at the end of the day, you're sending a message of distrust to the staff, and I'm sick of it. We've got to do something to change that, okay?
Thank you, Mr. Greiser. Ms. Ligon?
Well, Mr. Chair, thank you. John, I must have rubbed off on you. You talking like I used to talk. But I make a joke every now and then. First of all, I want to get back to reality. I'm having a wonderful time with these gifts because I could say I don't deserve it, but let me put it this way. I'm appreciative that people think enough of us to give us nice things. Let me just throw that out there first. Life is way too short to get too crazy. So I come in tonight on School Board Appreciation Night having a good time. And I want to thank all the schools for just taking time. They didn't have to do this. They take time every year to give us nice stuff. I'm speaking for myself. I have things in my house that I look at every day when I'm having a bad day of what is really going on, which brings me around to, I was joking about John. When I see things like this that comes from children, I remember why I'm here in the first place. And I shared this with the superintendent. He and I had a 2 or 3 hour ride to Richmond, and I talked the whole time. I know he's crazy about it. But I said to him, if I didn't say anything else, that we've got to keep the kids in front of us. Policies and all of these, that's what we're here to do. I've been through enough of that governance, and we try to make it real. But not just appreciating us tonight, but knowing that the school system has got some kindness and love in their hearts is just what I'm looking at. I'm not going to get too many comments, and I'm not going to say too much about what happened tonight. I enjoyed everything that was said. I wrote lots of notes. I would think it'd be in our best interest to look at that policy again at our next board meeting because we've been given some good guidelines, and that's what we want to hear. I will agree with John that I was here the night we voted it in, but I remember saying something to the effect, I don't know why we're doing this opt-in. I can hear myself saying it, and I kind of got over it. And John, I agree. My children, my grown children came through this system. I came through it, and now I got 6 other little ones coming through it. If they read anything out of sorts, they didn't read it in the public school system. They probably read it somewhere else. But that does not excuse what we're trying to do. But I want to just say, like he said, I got to keep saying it because he said it before me. Everything keeps popping up every week on the news and all over the country. And you can't grab a hold to everything that pops up because it's not necessary for Amherst. The parental control of having parents and more control of their child's education, I'm fine with that. But as he said, we cannot take all the authority away from people who are trying to teach, these English teachers and even the librarians. Now, I've been in libraries, little ones, big ones, college ones. It's up to you what you want to read. You can just choose what you want to read in the libraries. And there is some concern. There has been talk out here, even though it was said it wasn't. Somebody was looking at books somewhere. And I'm not criticizing, I'm not putting the blame because I won't out there because I don't go in the library much now. I got internet, thank God for that. But when I did go into the libraries, I went to Amherst Library. I think Dr. Wells, we had a meeting up there one night, and I was sitting in the library and I looked around and I even picked out a book that I wanted on the Titanic. So we will look at this again, Mr. Chair, we'll look at this again after the comments have been brought to us. Didn't say we was going to change it, we don't know. But perhaps we were hasty without hearing from everyone that we needed to hear from. So I would just suggest if Mr. Chair would put it with the superintendent to look at this again, to look at the language, as Eric said, maybe the language is a little distorted, or maybe that's just the wrong information out there. And if it is, we would be the first to try to get that straight. So if we're looking at to ban books, I don't know, is there a library committee formed? Did I hear that? Was there a committee formed? We're not trying to now. I don't use it. I go by the rules. It wasn't on the agenda, so I'm not going to get too crazy about it. But we will look at it. If there's been a library committee formed, then let us talk about that in our meeting or in our retreat or where we need to talk about it. If there are some books that are concerned to be taken out of the library, I haven't seen it. I'd like to know something about it as a board member before we remove anything. Is that all right?
Yes, ma'am.
Just so everybody's on the same page. Then back to the good stuff. My real report. Thank you, John, for doing what I used to do. We okay. We attended a Capitol conference, Dr. Wells and I in Richmond, where a lot of these things are discussed. It would be good if all the board members could and couldn't go, else get some information. A lot of these things come up, and we get a better understanding when we're listening to the people who propose these policies and these bills to be passed. We listen to all the bills that will and will not be passed. I think that even Mr. Terry would talk when he was down there. And so I enjoyed myself as I represent VSBA through Amherst. I would encourage you to read your legislative positions that you have in your book this time. And if you have issues with those, talk with me and we can get that straight early on. My lower board meeting last week was excellent. Dr. Lewis is doing an excellent job over there. We have 4 students at Lowell at this time. We're looking at the budget, drafting the budget, looking at all kinds of things that are going on there, but things are well. Special ed is another area we could spend some time on to the good because it needs our help. We're seeing more and more children involved in special ed, and that would be a conversation that I would like to be involved with, is how we can help our children, Mr. Chair, versus some of these other things that are among us right now. But special ed is a big thing going on in Laurel and in Amherst County. I just want to once again thank the counselors. This is a crucial time that counselors are in. The students that they're seeing daily, the students that they're trying to coach and comfort and bring up and excite, and then the counselors who are trying to prepare those juniors and seniors to be citizens of Amherst or elsewhere. It's a huge responsibility. So a shout out goes to the counselors here in Amherst. Kindness Week, all of these things are things that I like to involve myself in. And I'm okay with all the other stuff too. But let us not forget, there are some good things going on. Dr. Wells, thank you for the community dinner. There's some good things going on. I had a great time. The chicken and all that stuff I didn't need, cholesterol was great. And so y'all keep these things in front of you and come out and be a part of some of these activities. You can sit down and eat a biscuit and talk about some of these things as well under good circumstance. Brittany, next week I may not see you, but thank you for all you do for Clerks Week. I had to ask, I said, who is the clerk? We didn't know, because she's so busy. Thank you for what you do for Dr. Wells to help to do for us. And so we're just excited. My last thing is that I did go to senior night for basketball. What a great time that Joey sent the athletes off with, like, a lot of good music and all that. So once again, people are working. Some things look bad, but some people are happy in this county. Some things are going well. And so we will be excited, Dr. Norma, to see how our numbers look. Achievement scores, that's where I'm all about. I want to see what you bring to the table and where we need to do work. We can spend some time trying to figure out how to bring those scores up among all the gaps in our community. So, Mr. Chair, I think I've covered everything that John didn't cover. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Ms. Ligon. So first, I'd like to get a shout out from Ms. Thompson. She was not feeling well tonight, so she could not join us. And I am not on any boards, but I will apologize to Mr. Arasi for missing the STEM meeting the other day. So thank you for picking that up. So I'd like to thank all our speakers for coming tonight. We'd like to hear all sides. We have some for, we have some against. We need to hear all sides. Thank you very much. I think most everybody has spoken about the gifts. They're the neatest thing to get from the children, especially when you know that they've put the thought and the care into doing those. It's very humbling. So thanks to the principals and teachers for guiding them, or however that came about. But thank you all very much. Dr. Wells, I think people have spoken about the dinner. It was a fabulous event. People from all sides of the community were there. It was great to see the first responders there showing off their stuff. It's a good way to get people together. Food does a wonderful thing. So hopefully people will take you up on your community leaders breakfast. Be good to have as many people from the different groups there to hash out differences and to show up Amherst. So that goes out to everybody within the community. Don't just sit back and talk. Come on out. I mean, I'd rather talk face to face than to hear it from the internet or whatever. So please show up. Welcome back, Chris Moore. We're all looking forward to a good football season. Even those who are not big football fans are excited to see change coming and moving in a positive direction. So we're looking forward to a good season. Looking forward to the construction, starting at the high school. We've been talking about that for a couple years now. Of course, the auditorium is something they've been talking about for decades now. So it'd be nice to finally see that thing break ground and get going. That is another thing that will help unite the community. Having a big place where people can come together. All groups can use that, and that's what it's for. But to have it centered around our high school that's about the best thing we could do. Put it where people can use it, all groups can use it, but it's centered around where our kids are. So again, show up Amherst and do the right thing. The chronic absenteeism has been a big thing for us. And so we're, putting the shout out for our parents to make sure if the kids can be at school, have them at school. Have them show up and do the right thing, be at school. The chronic absenteeism is going to bite us in the rear end if we're not careful. And hate to see that be the thing that drags us down. The academics is coming along. You like to see the improvements there, but if the chronic absenteeism is going to drag us down, the teachers can only teach if the kids are there. So we need the parents to show up, get the kids there. And Mr. Fink, we like hearing what's going on at the schools. I know with the seniors, it's the final stretch. Graduation is right around the corner, and we like hearing how our young adults are planning to move on with their lives, whether they go on to college or whether they go into the workforce. It's exciting for everybody. I no longer have kids in the high school, but I have seen it happen, and it is always exciting. So keep everybody, engaged and pumped up, and we wish you all the best of luck. So good luck to you guys. And I think I would like to end tonight to say one more word about the loss of a student that we had. I don't think there's anything more devastating to a community, to a school, to a family, to lose a child, to lose a friend, especially somebody who you lost so unexpectedly. So our hearts are broken for everyone in the community. So let's all show up at Amherst and support the families, the students, and let's do the right thing. So.
So we need to move into closed session. So pursuant to Section 2.2-3711A1 of the Code of Virginia, it is recommended the board convene a closed meeting for the following: A1.